Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. I welcome you all, warmly welcome you all to this wonderful session that we are all going to have together. Okay. And this session is on
Okay.
storytelling. I'm sure all of you, when you were young, you heard a lot of stories from your grandparents, and that you have transferred them on to your own children or younger siblings, or use them when you have been in the classroom situation. Okay. So, what is storytelling? Now, see, it's a beautiful relationship between the storyteller, the audience, and the story itself. A lovable relationship. So, the storyteller, at some times, you become a performer also, because within the same story, you start acting different parts. Okay, and why do we do this? Because we want our audience to understand. So, today, our topic is storytelling for education. So, as I said, that concepts we have to teach children, rules, and what are the basics of any subject. But sometimes they get very heavy and children don't understand. So, what do? We try to use stories. Now, within stories, we can use music, theater, you can ask someone to enact or to dance, you can have costumes, different types of voice modulations, you can use body language so that everybody understands what we are speaking. Now, in our country, we are very, very lucky because we have stories from the Mahabharata, from the Panchatantra, from Ramayana, heroes of history like Hanuman or Rani Padmavati. We know so many stories because we watch movies, we read books, and we also now have the internet. So we can use all this for education. Wonderful. So now there used to be an author. He was called H.G. Wells and he lived in England. He was born in 1866. So what this man used to do, he used to write science fiction stories, and they came true in this century. He wrote a story called The War of the Worlds and the Time Machine. A War of the Worlds was a battle between different planets, and we have actually seen that. There have been so many series, so it's going to happen. That he had predicted, and he died somewhere near the first when the First World War took place, so that is in living memory. H.G. Wells. He had predicted that man will find a potion. If he drinks it, he will become invisible. So let's have a look. This little story, it's known as Footprints Without Feet. And the book which he wrote, H.G. Wells wrote, it is known as The Invisible Man. Okay, so let's get on with it. You're allowed to ask questions while the session is going on. You're allowed to have a lot of fun because if we have fun, then we can understand what we are trying to teach our children. All right. You're allowed to laugh. You're allowed to crack jokes. We are part of one huge session, so we are a family together. All right. Should we go for it?
Yes.
So many years.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Many years ago, that means at the beginning of the 1900s, there was a scientist and he was known as Griffin in England. Now, he was a very bad natured man, criminal bent of mind, but he was so clever that he found a potion that if you drink it, you will become invisible. You, me, anyone who comes to know about it. So, what happened was that he never had any money to pay his rent. So, the landlord came and told him that, look, please leave my premises, otherwise, I am going to ask you to leave. So, he got so angry that he set fire to his landlord's house. Griffin. Griffin sets fire to his landlord's home. Now the police are after him. So what does he do? He drinks that potion and then he becomes invisible. But he had to remove all his clothes. Otherwise, people could see him. Now it was winter time in London. You know how cold that gets. So he forgot about so many things. But yet he kept running away from that scene because police people have dogs. And then he found some clothes. He put them on, but he realized his face was invisible. So people would get to know there is somebody there. He kept walking. And then there was a group of young people standing. They kept looking in horror that there were footprints which were walking in the sand. They kept walking, and they were wondering, what's this? Is it a ghost? But what Griffin did, he started running and he ran inside one departmental store in London. And then what happened then? Excuse me. It was closing time. So he waited for the whole staff to go. The store was locked. He went and slept on the mattresses. And then he had something to eat from their food court. And soon it became morning. And he heard the staff coming back. Now he didn't know what to do because he had already stolen some clothes and he had worn them. The staff found him. And so he ran out of the departmental store and again he took out his clothes. Meanwhile, he had carried some clothes with him. So he put them on and he bandaged his face. And he caught a train, and the train he took it out of London to a place called Newcastle. And then he looked for a room in an inn because he wanted to continue his science studies. Now the landlady, she asked him, why have you got bandages on your face? So he said, I'd hurt myself. But she gives him the room. Then soon he runs out of money. So there is a clergyman, that is a person who looks after the church. And everyone knows that the church has a lot of donations, so there is money inside the house. So one fine day, Griffin, again, he has to remove his clothes. He goes to the clergyman's house. He steals money from his study room. The clergyman and his wife come down shouting, who is there in the study? Is it the devil? Come on, give up. But then they have a look around the whole of the study and there's nobody there. Okay, so he goes to the landlady of the inn and he gives her the money. Now, meanwhile, when he's in his room, the landlady comes in and she sees him removing his bandages. So she thinks it's the devil himself. So she starts screaming and he throws a chair at her because by that time he has again disrobed. And she goes down the stairs saying that there is the devil has entered my home. Meanwhile, someone rings up the police that there is something strange going on inside the inn. Now, the innkeeper's wife is frightened to death when she sees that this man, when he removed his clothes, he became invisible. Now, constable arrives there. Constable is like havaldars, police people. And he has a hand-to-hand fight with Griffin. Now, Griffin is such a strong man. He kicks and shoves and boxes and he does all sorts of things, and the constable falls down unconscious. And after that, the crowd tries to catch this invisible man, but they cannot because they don't know where he is hiding in the crowd. And he pushes everyone and he runs out of there. So this story we can tell our children that, see, in future there are science fiction which have been predicted 100 years ago and they still might come true. Now this is the story of H.G. Wells. It was in a chapter in a 10th standard book. It was called Footprints Without Feet, and the whole book itself is known as The Invisible Man.